I don't know what it was, bearskin or something. Probably cost a fortune. Hi, this is David Hobbs, and I'm bringing some of you my racing stories from the Throttlestop complex in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, which of course is also home to Road America. And back in 1976, I drove the very ill-sponsored and unbacked Jaguar team in the British Touring Car Championship with Derek Bell. And the car was prepared by Ralph Broad of Broadspeed, who was an absolute magician with tuning cars. And he won the British Touring Car Championship multiple times with Minis, you know, the old Morris Minor Mini, and with Ford Anglias, Ford Escorts. And then Jaguar decided they were going to go racing with the XJ12 coupe, two-door XJ12. And of course, Ralph worked his arse off to get this car right, but British touring car rules are very different to America. You can't have a roll cage with the body on it. You've got to have, the car has got to be, so of course the XJ12 was a heavy car, heavy engine, heavy car, and you couldn't gut it completely, otherwise it'd fall apart. You could put a roll cage in it, but you couldn't start with a bespoke roll cage. So the car was very, very unsuccessful, and the only time I ever drove it in a race actually was at Silverstone when the rear half shaft broke. Well, the Jaguar XKE and the 12s, the bottom link was the drive shaft, the suspension was the drive shaft. So when the drive shaft broke, the whole bloody lot floated away. Luckily, Derek Bell was driving at the time, but and Teddy Mayer, who of course I had driven for before. I came fifth at the Indy 500 in 1970. I came fifth in 1974, driving McLaren for McLaren.
The only foreigner in the race sits on the outside. David Hobbs of Upper Boddington, England, has become an Indy regular, and in a beautifully made British McLaren, he's a serious threat this time.
So Teddy knew a bit about my driving. I'd won the Formula 5000 Championship in a McLaren M10, and he asked me if I'd like to drive this 320 Ti BMW, which they, McLaren, were going to run in North America in IMSA. So, naturally enough, I said absolutely, as I had nothing else on the horizon. So we sign up, and I meet Jochen Neerpasch, who's the team man, not team manager, he's like the racing manager for BMW worldwide. So the first thing we do, we go to St. Moritz for a training session. So all BMW drivers from around the world have to assemble in St. Moritz. And we stay at this hotel, and we're going to do cross-country skiing, we're going to do swimming, we're going to gym, we're going to do all sorts of stuff, none of which I'd done before. But first of all, we all meet at the BMW factory in Munich. And they're lined up in a big row, it's about 20 BMW 323s, which was the first six-cylinder 3 Series. Now remember, this is 1977. BMW North America was only actually formed in 1974 or 5, and the BMW North America team in Montvale, New Jersey, had decided they want to include racing in their advertising campaigns. So we all assemble at the factory in Munich, and Jochen's got a great big long full-length leather coat, and he's striding up and down with his hands behind his back, and all us drivers are standing by the doors of our cars.
We will ride into battle, and this will be our horse.
And he's laying down the law about how we're going to drive it. We are BMW, this is BMW, and we have to be very thoughtful of the people around us and other drivers and other people, and we will drive with decorum. And we will be very careful and very, very disciplined and very restrained driving as we go to St. Moritz. Okay, certainly, sounds good to me. And Jochen goes to his car. I guess he takes his coat off, gets in the car, starts it up, and absolutely lead foots it out the gate of the factory. tyres squealing, and rockets off down the road. So we all follow. And we hurtle through Munich. We come to this storybook village, which is like a Christmas card. It's all bottle glass windows and Christmas trees and Christmas presents in the shop windows. And of course, the Swiss are very good at chocolatier. I mean, everything looks gorgeous. The low roofs and down a narrow street. And there's Mark Schurer, who was one of the junior drivers. And Mark Schurer is standing there looking very distant because he's not very big, he's a little guy. And Jochen Neerpasch is there. And then up pulls this big German lorry truck. And the driver jumps out and he's got the jack handle in his hand. He's tapping his other hand with the jack handle. Because Mark Schurer's BMW is stuck into the front of an Italian Fiat. So Jochen says to me and Hart Stuck and the other guys, I think you had better go to the hotel, where you find it in St. Moritz, whatever the hotel was called. So we all turned around and off we went. So that night then we're in the hall and everybody's exhausted. And there's Hans Stuck and his BMW anorak and his woolly hat, alongside Ronnie Peterson, who's got this most gorgeous fur coat which went right down to his feet. I mean, it was a long coat. And he said, are you coming, Hobbsy? And I said, where? He said, oh, we're going into the town, into the bar. I said, well, I thought we were supposed to be getting fit. Oh, Hobbsy, you can do that as well, surely. But I chickened out because I thought, well, this is my big chance to drive this BMW. I'm not going to screw it up on the first bloody night of training. So I declined. But they went out every night, those two, and had a ball. And but then the season started. So the first thing, we go testing in Paul Ricard in France with a regular 320, which has got not turbo. I've never been to Paul Ricard, but I do a few laps. I come in and I said, I think we need to tighten the rear roll bar up. And the chief engineer says, Herr Hobbs, we have no roll bar. It does not need a roll bar. It's all done on the springs and the dampers. Oh, okay, well, it needs stiffening up a bit. And we have our first race in Road Atlanta. And the car is quick. And as you go through turn one at Road Atlanta, it's a long turn. It goes up to the top of the hill, over a blind brown, and you go down a long left-hander and a long right-hander, and you come to turn 5, which is an abrupt left-hander, with the rock face right there. Well, it was then. It's not now, but it was then. And the car literally waddles up this hill. I think I came 5th. So Roger Bailey, who was our crew chief, and an Englishman, who I'd known since like 1959 when I first met him, and he was the crew chief when Jackie Stewart won the Formula 3 championship in England, and he worked on Jackie's car. He worked on Chris Amon. I mean, he was a very, very qualified race guy, and he was in charge of the team. And I said, well, I don't know, I think the car needs a roll bar. So we put a roll bar on it. And the next race you see is Laguna Seca. So we go out to Laguna Seca, and I'm on the pole by about 3 seconds and broke the lap record by 5 seconds. So we think, right, the roll bar sure as hell worked. And we won at Mid-Ohio. Then we went to Donnybrook, what now called Brainerd. And the wastegate stuck open. So for about half a minute, I had about 800 horsepower going down the straight at Donnybrook. So it was going extremely fast until it blew up. Later on that year, because Ronnie and Stuckey were driving one car in the German GT Championship, and Mark Schurer, Manfred Winkelhock, and the American driver who won Indy, they were driving the junior team, and they all kept crashing. So Jochen Neerpasch has this great idea. When they go to Diepholz, which is an airfield circuit in northern Germany, he'll have the senior team come over and show the juniors how to do it. So that's me, Stuckey, and Peterson driving 3 different cars in the Diepholz race. Meanwhile, relegated to the pits were the 3 junior drivers watching how it's done. Well, the next day's the race, Ronnie goes off at the end of the main straight, through the ditch, over the barrier, into the crowd. I, at the hairpin, which is made up of barrels, I hit the side of the car where the radiator is. I whipped the radiator off the car on the barriers, on the tyre barrier, and Stucky did something else. He crashed as well. So the three younger drivers all saying, I see, that's how it's done. It's okay, well, we'll remember that, so we know what we're doing now. So that was a pretty amazing weekend, and then we went to Sears Point that summer, and I won that easy. Sears Point being just the right shape for the BMW. It was better than the Porsches through some of the curves, and we didn't have a long straight for them to make up time with their extra power. So we won that race. In fact, we went 3 times, 77, 78, 79, and I won all 3 at Sears Point. So the car was really good on that type of circuit. We also went to a place called Hallett, Oklahoma, which, if you want to go to a racetrack, do not go to Hallett. It's very small and very compact, and I won there. Every time we went there, I won. And so the car was certainly good in the right circumstances, and it was an absolute miracle that we won that race in 1979 at Road America, which is all long straights. And it's all been jolly good fun, and I'll be back with more from this very same seat later on.